Welcome to another episode of the Deeper the Know podcast. Super excited to have Dan Klapps on the show. Dan, welcome.
Yeah, excited to be here.
And we connected. Dude, I feel like you were one of the first people I connected with when I jumped into the franchising market.
Really?
Because it was probably, a year and a half or so ago, 2 years ago, and that was kind of right when I was jumping in. So you were awesome. I think we connected. I was a guest on your show, and then I saw you at all the conferences, and you're just as friendly as can be. So I appreciate you welcoming me into the franchise community. I feel
Funny,
like
you never know the impact of a conversation because I feel the same way about you. Actually, some of the things we'll talk about today at what we're doing with my business Voda, I learned from listening to you on that podcast. So it all comes full circle.
cool. Well, Dan, let's start a little bit, 2, 3 minutes of your background. What were you doing before and how'd you get into what you're doing now?
Yeah, franchise veteran of my 10th year in franchising this year. Um, Quick version of my story. I started out in business in college. I had a staffing and recruiting business. It was a good business, but it was more of a job than a business. You wouldn't pay me to take the business. I couldn't pay you to take it. It was a minimum wage job. Just if you really added up the hours I was doing it, but learned a valuable lesson that my business was not systemized. And so in my early 20s and started looking at franchise opportunities in the home services space. Um, I had sold Kirby vacuum cleaners as a teenager. Home services made a lot of sense. But when I was looking to buy a franchise, I was probably just a little undercapitalized. And so I ended up joining a franchise that teaches you how to buy and sell businesses. So I was part of a franchise system called Murphy Business and Financial. Did that for about a year and a half and then realized again I was the business, right? I was answering the phone, I was doing all the work. And so I ended up leaving there, and in 2016 I started a lead generation company in the franchise space. Ran that with a previous partner for about 7 years, and then exited that business in May of 2022 to private equity.
Awesome. And now what you're doing home services, what type of home services are you doing right now?
Yeah, so we're in the cleaning and restoration space. We're the only franchise to do cleaning and restoration. So restoration is extracting water from a home or business or mold or fire. But what's interesting, since this is all about legacy and mindset, is when I sold that last business, I literally, you can ask my best friend, I thought I'll never be able to make another business. I'll never be successful again. It was luck. It was my old partner. It was timing. It was whatever, and which was all just nonsense. I was right about it, that I would never be able to make a business that size again. But I was right, and it was right because I would never make a business that small. Frankly, I was going to make something much bigger. And so I think it's interesting because getting into this business, all I really did was increase my vision, and then because that vision was bigger, my work ethic became stronger, and then everything else kind of followed. So I just think it's interesting. You'll get wherever your mind is telling you it'll go.
Yeah, and I heard that for years and years, and I didn't really understand. Like, the only thing that's keeping you from your goals is you. It's typically it is just think bigger. Because I felt the same thing after exiting my solar company. I was like, well, I got freaking lucky. I still think I'm getting lucky, but at the end of the day, like, maybe I'm just a lucky person because it's following me, or I have lucky habits. I develop these habits, and either way, it's surround yourself with good people, have a big vision, just go. Sometimes it's shit, sometimes it's great, but just keep going, and it seems to work itself out if you just kind of trust in the process. So, anyways, I relate a lot to that. Can you talk? Did you go through? I went through this, and this is what caused me to like do core values and mission statement. When I sold a business, achieved what I wanted, and then I realized that actually that's not what I wanted. It didn't give me the joy and fulfillment and happiness that I thought it would. I mean, it did momentarily, right? Um, and I attached my identity to being the salesperson owning a solar company, and that was pretty hard for me to detach and then go find the next thing. Did you go through anything similar to that, and how did you kind of get out of that hump? If so,
Oh, dude, 100%. My whole identity was that business. My whole value was in that business. If the business was successful, I felt good. If it was not doing well for a month, I felt bad. When I sold that business, I thought that, I lost a part of me. I heard a quote from Jamie Dimon, the CEO of Chase, that really during that time stuck to me, which was he was fired from a job before ever being as successful as he is. He was fired from a banking job. And something he told himself was the business he was working in was his net worth, not his self worth.
Mhm.
And so selling that business caused me to go and really kind of get back to who I am as a person who cares about the business, who I am, what I've done, what I stand for. And that made me a way better entrepreneur. Now with building Voda, although I do want to build it and not sell it for any foreseeable future, I am building it without my ego or identity in the business, which allows me to make decisions from a more logical place, not from Dan, the business owner place.
How do you how are you doing that? How do you shift that? I bought dirty dough, so for me, I feel like it's easy because it's not grandma's recipe. I don't give a damn about any. Like, let's just do whatever succeeds. But at the same time, I still do attach. I mean, everybody introduces me. Like, if I'm out with friends or somebody, or we're going to IFA, everybody's going to introduce me as Bennett Dirty Dough. It's like, yeah, that's like one small part of who I am. It's still attached, whether I like it or not. And I'm sure I attached to it more than I thought. So, anyways, speak to me specifically, but also to everybody else. How do you detach that? I love the advice.
Well, the first thing is people think that, I mean, Dirty Dough is an amazing business, you've done an amazing thing, but you probably have something even bigger one day, right? So you're not Bennett Dirty Dough, you're Bennett the entrepreneur, you're Bennett the father, the husband, everything, right? So that's everyone's like small vision of you because they only know that. So one of the things I've learned is like, you know, what I'm doing is the tip of the iceberg, but you only see the tip. So you only know about the tip of the iceberg. You don't know about everything going on underneath that maybe is in my head or whatever. And
Yeah,
so, people's definition of you is usually just what they see and they don't know about everything else. But I mean, the way that I did it was when I sold the last business. I mean, listen, it wasn't like I'm, retiring on a yacht in Monaco here, but, it was enough to get me, some nest egg. The first thing I did though is I basically I looked at that money not as money, but as capital. So it wasn't my money. It went from one account to a business account and became the seed money for Voda and Franchise Playbook. And then I've treated that capital like capital ever since, as if it's not my money, someone else's money that was given to me to grow my new business. So it's funny. Last time it was had our CMO Christian Betancourt. He lives near me here in Miami where I am, and we were watching the Super Bowl. I went out to grab some cigars to bring back to my house, and I was putting it on the Voda card, and it was like a $30 charge. And we were together, and I was like,
yeah,
"Don't tell anyone." And he was laughing because it's my capital, but I truly treat that $30 like like it's the company. I work for Voda, and that's truly how I feel. I now take a salary from Voda. It's not like I treat it like my business, and quite frankly, it isn't. I've got a lot of people behind the scenes, just like you went out and brought amazing people into Dirty Dough, from operations to everything else. We've done that here, and I it isn't my business. I just happen to be the guy that wrote the check.
uh-huh. I like that. I mean, you're really separating it. And now you have to be a steward of your business as the founder, the CEO, rather than it's just my money. It doesn't really matter. Because you definitely treat money differently if it's like I have an investor to report to, so you are your own investor. Super cool mindset shift.
Yeah.
I did that because I just flew through money way too quick, and then it comes fast and it goes even quicker. Okay, shifting gears a little bit. So, I mean, you've been in franchising for 10 years. You've done multiple businesses. If you can think about one of the lows, whether it's the lowest low or just a low, if you could speak to that, kind of what was it? How did you get through it? And what did you learn from
Yeah. Dude, I'll be honest with you. I just went through it. I might even be going through it, which
it? Oh,
was
I'm in it right now.
yeah. Vote is we've accomplished 65. We have 65 locations, about 30 owners. We're on pace to get to 100 owners in the goals that we wanted to get to. Do I feel an enhanced sense of confidence? Or feeling of accomplishment? Yes. On the other side, I have more imposter syndrome than I've ever had, and you know I'm combating that by becoming the leader I need to become as a person. So, it's interesting. I saw this book I'm reading talks about, literally you can have all the success in the world. You can even be happy, but you're not free until you can remove it, like what other people think of you. If you care about what other people think of you, it doesn't matter. You could have three beautiful kids and the money and a loving wife, and you could actually be quote unquote happy. But if you're like thinking about what other people think about you, you're still trapped, right? And so, kind of this feeling of, man, like I feel like I have some level of success, why do I still not feel like the fulfillment I was chasing? How I'm going through that is kind of realizing that there's so much more, to focus on, right? So, for example, instead of putting in 18-hour days and going to sleep and then waking up, I'm doing a little bit more of like the working out, eating right. I know I see you in the gym on social media and stuff. I'd rather be, it's funny, I'd rather be an 8 out of 10 in all areas than a 10 out of 10 in one. And that shifted for me where it was like all about business. And now I'm kind of spreading that out a bit more. And what's interesting is I'm actually becoming 10 times the leader by being even just diverse in travels and doing other things. So it's interesting because for me, I'm 31. I'll be 32 in the near future. I know I want to have a family. There's no way I can have a family working the way I've been working. And so recently, I had this realization that what got me to here, that won't get me to where I want to go if I want to have anything other than a business.
Yeah,
And so, learning how to be successful, not just by being gritty, is something that I'm working on.
I like that a lot, and I've I'm a big proponent of the same thing. I mean, I have 3 kids. You can probably hear them back there. They're always playing around, running, and screaming. Um, and it was a big shift to be like, oh, I'm the business owner. I have to work the hardest. To like, oh no, I'm the business owner. I have to be the most mentally stable to run the business, and to be the most mentally stable, that actually means working less, and it means more working out and more sauna and more ice baths and more vacations. Somebody told me this. Jeff Bezos, quote from Jeff Bezos. He's like, I get paid, and obviously he's making a lot of money. I mean, tens of millions of dollars a day. His net worth is going up. And he's like, I don't get paid to work full time or 16 hours a day or even full time. I get paid the big bucks to make a few pivotal key decisions a quarter. That's it. And then just to be ready to make those. And I'm like, man, that is so true. And I feel like that's what I'm shooting for, but there's also that guilt of like, oh, I'm not working as hard as somebody else. And maybe they're not going to respect me, but it's like, oh, who gives a damn?
But that's what I'm saying. There you go. You're thinking about, in that case, right, whatever everybody else thinks. Chances are your team will like you and respect you, but there's things you can do everything in the world. They still may not like something about you, right? And
But
and so like let them like that about what's that?
I said it's always going to be something. So I've taken on the lack of free will approach of we're machines, we're products of our environment and our genetics, and just be grateful that we're having this experience. What happens, and then I can just be like, oh, whatever. You can instantly forgive yourself if that's your belief system. Like you can't make a decision and then go back and say, oh crap, I wish I would have changed something, because it's like, well, you couldn't have. Like your desires were what your desires were, your hormones were what your hormones were. You didn't control either of those, and life just happened. So that's it. And that's really allowed me to, I guess, adopt that. Like, okay, I don't need to worry about what other people think, because I can't control it. And I really, to a big extent, I can't even control myself. Anyways, that's me preaching my philosophies, but it's helped me a lot.
100%. I think the thing that's funny though is you have to be cautious as an entrepreneur because, like, so it's funny. I took up, I've been skiing a lot, and now it's all I talk about. And then, I started doing some other like ice baths and working out, and like it's so funny. Entrepreneurs always end up going like way too far the other way, and then it's too much of that, and so like it's just in our DNA to be like
Yeah,
probably
all in.
OCD. Uh, so it's just balance, dude. It's like maybe just doing nothing on a Saturday, watching TV, or like just do nothing, which is something I'm working on.
Dude, it took me, and I'm there now, and I do it all every weekend. I don't work on the weekends, but it was so hard because like what triggers me to work are the notifications on my phone. So this whole weekend, I had 15 text messages unread. I still haven't got to them because I've been doing stuff since this morning, and like 20 emails. And before I could not go a weekend, I would have to text them back. But the issue is, you text back those 15 people, you get 10 texts back on Saturday, and then you're starting a conversation. But like just to look at my phone and see those notifications there, I'm like, who cares? I think that took months, but I'm finally there. I could finally ignore it and just be like, there's nothing in this world that can't wait till Monday. There's
Yeah.
absolutely nothing.
I think the challenge as you grow too is that like those 15 messages Monday, you already have a packed out day. It's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I know what you mean. Like, I've come to this realization that I physically can't answer everyone anymore, and I don't have any remorse. Like at IFA, I'm going to see lots of people that have texted me, and one of the things you have to be just honest with yourself about is like all these people, and I don't mean this in an arrogant way. It might sound that way, but like they're vying for your attention. So
Mm.
first, your family that loves you is vying for your attention. Your employees are vying for your attention. Your customers, your franchisees, your potential partners, your supplier partners. And I used to worry about like not answering someone who honestly is just, and there's nothing wrong with this. They're trying to sell me something, right? I
Yeah.
don't have to answer that in any way. Even if we're buddy buddy at these events and I see them everywhere, I don't even have to respond. No response is a response. And I can see them at IFA, for example, and we could chat. And if they bring up the product they're selling, I could say, hey, like, I didn't respond because it's just not a priority. And there's no offense taken to that. But I used to try to answer everything. And remember, everyone's like, it's their agenda, not yours, that they're trying to solve.
And that's such a big mindset shift because it's like, I don't expect to go reach out to a bajillion people and for them to let me pitch them everything, like, but when people do that to me, I feel like I owe it to them. And it's like, no, I don't owe anybody anything and nobody owes me anything. It's like, and living like that is a big mindset shift, but it's very freeing to be like, I actually don't have to even tell this guy I'm not interested. I can just not reply because there's only so much freaking time in the day and to kind of give yourself that grace. I've actually never heard anybody bring that up, but that's also something that that's still hard. Like I feel like I have to tell everybody no and give them a reason why when it's just like, man, I don't have the time to do that. I just don't have the bandwidth. Maybe I have the time, I just don't want to. I don't want to provide that energy.
Yeah. It's like. I mean, how many things do people tell you? Like, it takes 2 seconds. Yeah. Well, if you add up all the things that take 2 seconds, I mean, it's a lot of your day. And I know for me, I'm not going to live my life attached to text messages all because I know. Yeah, I would sound very similar. I have the same thing. I get those texts on the weekend, and it's like, you know, 9 out of 10 times it's not urgent. It didn't need to go to me anyway. There's a whole team of people. I don't even be on your team to pay a lot of people to respond to those types of things
Yeah.
in a good way because it's actually, it's funny, man. I'll give you an example. I was on the phone today with one of our vendor partners for a very specific reason, and just in chatting, I asked for some metrics, and we looked at them, and I kind of overstepped like all kinds of channels before that were to come to me. Maybe the person that leads that wants to package that in a certain way. Maybe there's a time I'm supposed to hear about it. And it's funny, like me being an overdoer, like actually probably just disempowered my leader of that department instead of, just leaving it alone. And so it's like, it's interesting, right? Like do less. The CEO has to shoot like the hustler that sold the solar and sold the first dirty doze and did all the things that you've done. You have to, as a CEO, you have to go in the backyard. You have to like shoot that guy in the head in order for the CEO to like arise. You have to kill the hustler.
Yeah. No, dude, that's awesome. You have to kill the hustler for the CEO to rise. Because if you are having your hands in everything, you can't run the business. That's some profound stuff, man. You got to write a book on that. Shoot
Well,
the hustler.
it's funny because I'm trying. It might fail. It might not work out. But I'm trying. Like, think about it, dude. Like, maybe this is an exaggeration, but like, if you look at most good leaders of big organizations, they're not like tapping away on computers and answering. They're like in one thing, then they go to the next thing. And so for me, I'm trying to like my vision in life would be to not have to touch the computer, to basically just bounce from meeting to meeting and not have to send little messages. Maybe that's unrealistic, but I'm trying to do it. And what's interesting, I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a rant, but what's interesting is the people I'm not answering, I'm noticing when I'm with them, they're seeing me be present with them.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, yeah, next time I'm not answering you, just know that when I am with you, I'll be present like I was with whoever I was at that time.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's awesome. When Dan's with me, he's with me, and that's why he's not responding to me when he's not with me because he's with somebody else being present. Uh, no, I like that a ton. Shifting gears a little bit with all the different. Well, I don't even know if you answered my last one actually. So we're in a hard time right now. Um, what are the daily things to get through it? No, maybe you did answer me, and we're gonna have to cut this out then. You did because you told me that the working out and more of the balance. So never mind. Cut that out.
Yeah, like make your bed, drink some water, take a vitamin, like then see if you still don't feel good. That's kind of my new mindset.
Okay, I like that. Part two question to that then. What is something that you have learned or you're continuing to learn? Because it's very hard to get down on yourself during these hard periods. But we all have had very hard periods that we look back and we say, man, I'm so grateful for that. I wouldn't have changed it for the world because I learned X, Y, Z. Are you pulling any of those things right now, during a more difficult time? Like, this is what I'm learning and I need to focus on what I'm learning rather than just the suck.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, like I'm kind of going through this mindset where I went through a rough time. Now I'm going through a great time, but maybe rougher on the mind, let's say. And just this idea that like everything you go through passes. And so, I saw Robert De Niro say this. Like he was in some table with like a bunch of other actors, and he said he wished when he was younger he learned like this idea of just staying calm.
Um,
So, for example, Voda is having tremendous success, but I'm just staying calm. When there's problems, I'm just staying calm. Like nothing is exciting me to the level that it used to, in a good way. So everything I just kind of try to stay like just calm. And in doing that, I'm finding a much more even keel like decision making process. Um, and so when I go through something really good, I remind myself that it'll pass. So like, don't do anything crazy. For example, like spend a bunch of money, let's say. And if I'm going through something bad, I just remember that that's also going to pass. So don't make any permanent decisions to temporary problems. Like, I don't know. We just recently had like a hire we wanted to make, and it didn't seem like the right time. But I was like, not hiring. We're going to miss out on her. That's a permanent problem to a temporary problem. Like let's hire her, and this other problem will pass much faster than losing her. You know what I mean? Like that employee.
um, no, I definitely relate to that. It's coming from the sales world. I feel like that was what made a good door-to-door salesperson. I mean, you said that you did Kirby. Was that door-to-door?
Yeah.
Uh, you sell and you get lots of commissions. You don't sell, and I don't know if you're straight commission. All the door-to-door I've done, straight commission. And you knock on a door and you make 10 grand doing a solar cell, and then you knock on another door, you make nothing. And the next day you not only don't make money, but you have a cancellation. And it's not letting your highs be that high and not letting your lows be that low. And that emotional stability, I think, is what really separated the really good salespeople from the mediocre. It's just that mindset. And I think it's the same thing with the business. You're gonna have highs and lows. How do you just kind of bring that in the middle and be calm? I mean, that's a really good way to put it. Joy and fulfillment. How is that kind of, I guess, how has that changed from what used to give you joy and fulfillment, or maybe in relationship to your work as well? Or maybe were you in industries that didn't give you that joy and fulfillment? And how did that evolve into what you are doing now in regards to joy and fulfillment?
Yeah. What gave me joy and fulfillment in the past, being a salesperson in nature from the background, was probably more instant gratification, the highs of closing a deal. And as I've grown and matured, the length of time to get that high has increased. So I went from selling a vacuum that you close right then and there to selling, a franchise, which takes much more time, to now, I'm working on some projects operationally that I don't think we'll see come to surface for about a year. And so learning how to have joy in longer delayed projects, I very much like that because it's a very select amount of people that can do that.
Mhm.
And so, like, I take joy in working on projects that, you know, no one even really is aware of other than my COO, co founder, and that we're working toward for a year out time horizon. And like the excitement when that year hits, like that was a year in the making versus trying to do something in like a day. You know what I mean? And so I think the next level would be able to work on something for like 5 years with no gratification. But um, elongating that need for gratification as an entrepreneur, I think is my bringing me a lot of joy getting better at that.
Yeah, I like the elongating the gratification. But I think the flip side to that, or what I'm trying to focus on, is finding the gratification without the finish line. Like,
Mm.
set the goals because that's still good to drive you, but don't attach the gratification or the joy or fulfillment to achieving that goal rather than just the pursuit of. Because in my experience, it doesn't matter how many goals you hit. your body will come back to homeostasis. You'll have a high, you'll have dopamine for a day, a week, an hour, whatever, and then it'll come back down. And then you're just in this endless, vicious cycle of more and more. So whether I like how you're phrasing it, delaying it or trying to find that gratification on a day-to-day basis and then not attaching it to an outcome, but still having the goals, because I do feel like goals and progressing to those goals is very essential to human happiness. More on the fulfillment side.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, give you an example. Like, what if your job was just like to Jeff Bezos' point? What if your job was just to sit in meetings for weeks and you just take your notes quietly and you don't say anything, and then you come back with one or two major solutions in your organization? Like, that's the place I'm trying to get to, where it's less those texts and those emails and those chats and all of that is action that you're chasing. It's dopamine that you're chasing. And I want to get to the type of leader that doesn't need any of that to feel connected to the business. Dude, I'm a what I call a Teams terrorist, terrorist Teams. I go on Microsoft Teams and I'm blasting people. And I think part of it's because I'm sitting alone in a room knowing there's this pretty big business running and the Teams kind of keeps me tethered to people to feel in control. But the reality is it's not even doing anything. It's just making me feel something. It's not really helping those people. And so learning how to say, you know what, if no one talks to me today and I only work on this one project that may take 6 months to complete, but will make this vast difference in the business, then so be it, and just getting comfortable with that.
Yeah. And that going back to the setting a goal a year out, that's admirable, dude. Because I'm like, anything that's going to happen in a year, I'm going to be dead in a year. And then, but before you know it, the year happens. I hate, the bigger the organization gets, it's like, oh yeah, for us to roll out this new cookie is going to take a quarter. I'm like, 3 months? What? And then before you know it, it just happens. And it's like,
you just go back in the kitchen probably and slop up a cookie and put it on the tray.
Yes. No, that's what I still think. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, no, you have to order your ingredients. You have to get the POs from Cisco, then order your ingredients, then produce it, then store it, then ship it to one of Cisco's 70 something houses. Like, it takes time even if you do it today. And that's just a different mentality of okay, there actually is time. Let's move quick, but there is time to focus on goals in a year, because before you know it, that year will happen. And it reminds me of a quote of, you overestimate what you could do in a month or a week, whatever, but you underestimate what you could do in a year or 5 years. So really focusing on those larger goals, breaking them down, and then, in bite-sized pieces, so you're on your way to that larger goal over a much longer time period. That's awesome that you're doing that. That's something that I need to focus my mindset on is more bigger picture, not just doggy paddling to survive today, dude.
Yeah.
That's hard with all the chaos going on. So how would you define success in what you're doing right now? If you were to look back in 1 year or 5 years or 10 years, was my business success, yes or no? How would you define that?
Yeah, for me, I truly am driven by impacting people making a living off being a business owner. So taking someone from non-business owner, they buy a Voda, they open their location, they're making money. I am driven by this thing where I do love when people make more money than they ever made before. Whether they work for me or they're a franchise owner, I really like that. I don't know what it is about that. Maybe I went through that, so I enjoy sharing it. So that would be one thing. Success in business for me would be, you know, uh, my goals for Vote are a little bit different than what I would consider to me, success would be the business is run, the franchisees are happy, it's making money more than I need to live, which you probably could argue I've already accomplished. But a certain money goal and not being stuck in too much of the day to day is, to me, that's success. I would absolutely rather be able to contribute to the business where I enjoy and what I'm good at and make less money than be stuck to the computer all day long. Um, so that to me would be success, and then having the reputation as a franchise to be kind of the best franchise partners in the system. And people say, how the hell did you guys find 100 guys and gals that are all the same? Like, for us, we call them the mayor of the town. I look forward to the conference, seeing a bunch of mayor of the towns all in one location. But to me, it's definitely building something bigger than me, and maybe just getting beyond where I think I can.
I like that a lot. And I think it leads up pretty well to this last question. And so your answer might be the same, but what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Yeah. What's the legacy I want to leave behind? Well, I think Bennett, that question probably comes to, guys specifically more when they start to have kids. I don't have kids yet, so it's like, I mean, I think that's the legacy I'd like to be behind is some kids. But I mean, I definitely would like to see Voda. It's interesting. Like, I never really thought about, it's funny. I have a friend, Andy Fuller, is the CEO of Mosquito Hunters, and we were having a conversation over dinner once. I was like, "What's more important, like, size of the business or household name?" And he was really driven. He loved the idea of being a household name. I never really was driven by that. That has changed for me as a franchisor. There's something about everyone knowing about like Voda over, let's say, Serve Pro would be pretty cool. That goal would take probably my whole life. If you think about how big Serve Pro is, maybe I could do it in less time. But so for me to look back and say, "Wow, this thing's bigger than Serve Pro," that would be pretty cool. But I also know that as long as it wasn't in vain of everything else, because I have a feeling no matter how much money that's worth, it's going to feel pretty empty if that's all you got. So just wherever I can get without sacrificing my whole life.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, and really pursuing the balance side, um, the 8 in all aspects rather than a 10 in the few. I like that
Yeah.
a lot. Dan, where can our listeners find you, and including if you could tell us about your podcast?
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best place. I'm just Dan Klapps on Voda. You'll see it right away. LinkedIn, connect with me. You're gonna be joining my Bennett's been a guest of our podcast, the I Fire My Boss podcast, but we're gonna have him on again. Definitely join that. And then I'm pretty much LinkedIn. I'm all over LinkedIn. So Dan Klapps, Voda Cleaning and Restoration. Or if you're interested, in the business, it's Voda.com, myvodafranchise.com.
How do you spell Voda?
www.myvoda, VODA franchise.com, myvodafranchise.com.
All right, man. Easy, easy. Well, I appreciate you jumping on the show. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, man. See you next week.
Give me 1 second as I stop.